Good morning. Welcome to our Ask the Expert session. We are going to just hang on the line here a couple more minutes and let people join us. So bear with us. We'll start at 2 after. I still see some folks joining, so it'll be just a couple more seconds. All right. Well, good morning. My name is Lisa Tiori, and I lead the customer marketing efforts here at Procare. Today, we've got our Ask the Expert session. My team creates events and programs such as this that helps our customers be successful. So it's wonderful to see so many of you guys joining us today. And without any further ado, let's just get started. I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Customer Officer, Tammy Hogan.
Good morning, everyone. We're so happy to see everyone here. Thank you for joining. If you move to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about today. Again, welcome. I'm Tammy Hogan, the Chief Customer Officer here at Procare. And today we have some really great elements of this webinar with you. We're going to do a Procare online roadmap update. You're going to hear from some terrific product managers about what's up and coming on the online platform. So looking forward to that. Then we'll move into tips and tools. We have some experts that have joined us to talk about ideas and suggestions to make your end of year process go smoother. And they'll also be here to talk about general processes throughout the year that help you use our software so well within your centers. And then most importantly, we're going to allow quite a bit of time for answering your questions. Please enter your questions in the Q&A bubble that's supplied to you on this webinar, and our experts will answer as many as possible today. Let me introduce to you the people that are going to be speaking today. We have two incredible product managers that have joined us, Stephen and Brandon. Stephen is our Senior Manager of Center Management at Procare. He has a wealth of experience in helping organizations run their centers through software. So we look forward to having him speak with us. And then Brandon, he's the Senior Manager of Education Technologies at Procare. And he has so much to offer in the world of education and what's important in terms of what we're doing for our children. So welcome to both of our great product managers. On the operations and services side, we have two terrific Procare employees, Lexi and Kelly. Lexi is a customer support operations consultant. She is so thoroughly educated on the online platform. She can give you incredible tips and helpful tools to run your centers through our software. And then we have Kelly. Kelly is an implementation supervisor. Kelly spends all of her days at Procare helping our employees onboard and our customers to our online platform. She has a plethora of knowledge around education and how to use software to help best take care of our centers. So welcome to all of them and welcome to you. With that, I will turn it over to our product management team.
Thank you, Tammy. Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm going to work with Steve and we're going to talk about what's up our updated online roadmap. The first thing I want to show you is our current Procare online feature roadmap. And you'll notice there's a little asterisk up there. That's just a disclaimer to let you know that it's not guaranteed that these items that you see here are going to be delivered by a particular date. But what this does show you is kind of our prioritization of items that we are either in progress and working on, items that are on deck or coming soon. So I just kind of alluded to that. If you look at the columns, you see the kind of the status of all of these features of where they at, the items that have been released, the items that we're currently working on, and the ones that are on deck and coming soon. The items that are on deck and coming soon are a little bit further out there, and just know that it's those are kind of high level areas that we know we need to solve some customer problems, to solve problems to deliver out value to you. But as you'll see as we get through the presentation, as far as what item is most important or how many items we can get through the pipe and delivered out to you becomes a little bit more vague as you go further out and coming soon. As you get closer to in progress, we have more detailed understanding after speaking with you, learning about your problems, and knowing exactly what problems we're going to tackle and solve. Another way to read this roadmap is to look in the swim lanes, the rows. You can see that we have a parent, owner, director, and teacher. What that does is it allows us to assign these features to it allows us to assign these features to a specific persona, which is going to solve the biggest pain. Now, a lot of these do cross over across multiple personas, but this is kind of a way that we bucket so we know who we're really trying to address and solve the problem for. With that, we're going to jump into the recently released items, and then we'll move into the in progress, on deck, and coming soon. And I will turn it over to my colleague, Steve, to talk about what he's been working on with center management.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, so for center management, if you attended the TBCC conference, you may have seen some of these items already there. But to bring you guys up to speed, there are some items that you may have seen recently released or heard about, and I'll just give you guys a quick run through of them. So we've got a couple of features that were released specifically for our corporate centers, and the first one being corporate account subsidies being controlled at the corporate level. So now we've added in features to allow the highest level of the corporate groups to manage subsidies, manage subsidy naming, manage subsidies that are available to each of the individual schools. And this really does help them because it helps uniformity in reports, helps with uniformity in understanding where the subsidies money is going. So that was one of the items that we recently released, as well as corporate portal access. So what that does is it allows again, at the highest level of our corporate level schools, to be able to provide access to individual schools from the corporate level. So prior to this feature, each school had to have individual user accounts for each of the corporate members. Well, now the corporate members can control the user accounts directly at the highest level. So again, these are things that will, for some of the larger schools to be able to manage their business a lot more effectively. The other two items we've got here are report-based items. The first one being a bank deposit slip. And this bank deposit slip is just as you would see, you go to a bank, it produces a slip that you can put inside the bank deposit bag that details how many checks are received, the value of the checks, the check number, the payer, provides you the date that the bank deposit was made, as well as spaces to enter currency. So each of the individual bill notes and coins. The other one is it's a detailed staff time card by room report. So now you'll be able to, by room, view the individual hours for each of the individual staff members. And the next one is Arizona DES report, time card report, and monthly attendance report. So these three items are all pretty much report based. The Arizona DES report, we updated the layout to make it more user-friendly, try to condense it onto one page. The time card report now for staff is going to give you some better indication if the OT hours are off. So prior to this update, you could pick a 2-week span that spanned 2 calendar weeks. Well, now we're going to allow you to choose a 1-week span. And if you do go beyond that 2 calendar weeks, the OT calculations may be off depending on where your start of the week is and your end of the week is. And the final one is the monthly attendance report. We've given you the ability to expand it to a 12-month time span. So now you can look at an attendance report for an entire year. And that's it for the CMS side that's recently released. Brandon?
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. So I'm going to go over some of the items that have been recently released for what we call our family engagement and classroom area. That's what my team is focused on. Now, if you're at the TBCC conference, you may notice that there's some items that are not here. I've intentionally removed those because I couldn't justify that they were recently released. But those items were the Learning Beyond Paper curriculum and the initial phase 1 of the activities dashboard. If you're interested in the LBP curriculum, pricks your ears, please reach out to your account manager to learn more about that offering. But one item that I'm going to start here with is the newsletters to non-active families. So you may be aware that now you're able to communicate with families of children who are no longer active. They may be on hold, graduated, or inactive. We got some feedback that there was no really good way to communicate with those families without trying to change the child's status. So we allowed you to be able to filter in the newsletter by enrollment status and be able to communicate with those families. Another item that we've relatively recently released was the parent staff account switch and student profile access from messages. Now, in the account switch, if you have a staff member who is also a parent, we found that it took a lot of time and a lot of clicking to try to log out of the staff account and then log into the parent account. You know, they want to stay focused on their kiddos under their care, but they also want to check in on their own kiddo. And so we thought, well, how can we make that faster for them so they can quickly pop over, check in, and then go back to their classroom? So in the top left corner, you can barely see it up here, and I apologize for that. In the app, there's those 3 lines. I'm going to refer to that as the hamburger menu. If you click the hamburger menu and you're a staff member that also has a parent account with the same email, you will see this new switch to staff or switch to parent, depending on which account you're signed into. Now it's just one click and you'll be able to pop over in between the accounts. Another feature that we've launched was a student profile access from messages. So if you're in the mobile app and you are in a message thread, if you click on the child's name here at top, it'll bring up this modal that will list all the parents and guardians and their contact information. The problem this was solving is we heard that sometimes there's communications and messaging going on that needs to be taken out of the message thread. It needs to have a phone call. But the problem is trying to find the number for the parent. You have to, in the app, you have to click all over, get to the student profile. Even on the website, you have to do a lot of clicking to find that information. Well, now you'll be able to click that student's avatar up here or their name, and you'll get that information. And as long as that information is on file, it'll not only show, but if the phone number is there, you'll be able to quickly click that phone icon, assuming that you have your phone services hooked up to your device, and you'll be able to quickly dial out to those parents. I'll also add that we did add this in the web. I just wanted to show it on the mobile app because the web is a little bit more obvious than on the mobile side. There are also some minor enhancements we've done with activity feed daily filtering. This one's been out for a while, but I wanted to mention it because I didn't get to this in the roadmap section. But what we also try to do is with our customer research, we really narrow in on a high impact problem that we feel we can solve. But when it goes out, and you're using it, we got more people using it, we learn more information, and we find ways that we can improve it, and we should iterate on it. And the activity feed daily filtering is one of those that we plan in the near future to put an iteration for being able to do some custom date selection on the activity feed. The other one, just for awareness, is the in-app birthday notification. We've moved that from a 3-day notification out to a 7-day notification, and that's to help teachers do their birthday planning. In the web app, we had that 7-day notification, but we didn't in the mobile. So now the staff are going to be as updated as you admins are from the website. Some other items is the parent relation field. So this one allows you to manage your relation categories on parents and guardians. So you know the relationship of that parent or guardian to the child. There's an asterisk on this because this is only live for online. And another reason I brought this up is it's something we want to do for those of you who are using our Engage platform. For those who may not be aware, online is you're just using our Procare Online, the browser-based version in the mobile app. For those of you that are using Engage, you may be synced up with desktop. And because desktop has its own relation category, it added a little bit of a challenge for how we're going to get that information to sync through and get the data to align. But we are working on that, and you can expect that sometime in the near future. Some other things we've done was in-app messaging improvements. So in the app, when you're on a message thread, you're now going to be able to search by a student's name, and you're also going to be able to filter for unread messages. And the problem that's solving is teachers and admins as well using the app, you guys get inundated with messages. It's a great feature to have, right? You want to communicate with your parents and have those messages, but sometimes they can come in and be overloading and things slip and they fall down. So we need to have a way to bring those unread messages to the top, as well as remember there was something, Thor's dad said, you may have looked at it, but you kind of forgot because you're busy. Well, now you can quickly search for Thor and get back to that thread and find that information you need. The last one I'm going to talk about is the class roster view enhancements. What this is solving is on the what I call the class roster view. When you're in the mobile app, so you can see we're in the toddler's room, you're going to now be able to do kind of similar to the messages, search for a student's name. Now, when you're in a specific classroom, that may not add a ton of value, but when you're in the all rooms, especially for an administrator, trying to find a specific kid is a lot of scrolling, and can be difficult and sometimes to use, our alphabet navigator over here. So this will allow you to quickly search for that student's name and not have to scroll through the app to find them. We've also added this filter icon here, which will allow you to switch between two different views. So this doesn't apply on the all rooms, but it applies for the individual classrooms. If this is gray, you'll be in the assigned room. So you're going to see all the kids that are assigned to that room, even though they may not actually be in that room at that moment. And that was leading to some confusion for teachers. So now if you click that icon, it's going to turn blue. It's going to give you a little tag here, letting you know that you're showing signed in students. And so now you'll be able to see only those kids that are signed into that room. So you'll notice when we're in the signed in view, Thor popped up, but Peter Parker went away. Peter Parker's assigned, but he's not signed in here. Thor's signed in, but he's assigned somewhere else. You might also be questioning, what's that extra information I'm seeing under those kid names, signed into older toddler and assigned to older toddlers over here. Well, in that hamburger menu, if you click on settings, there's going to be an optional device setting to show additional attendance status or room status, I should say. And what that does is for a kid who is signed into the room and assigned, like Bruce Banner, you don't get any additional information. He's assigned to my room and he's signed in. But for someone like Peter Parker, he's assigned to this room. So he's showing up in the assigned view, but he's actually signed into the older toddlers. So if you wanted to see where Peter is at, which room he's located in, we're going to give you that information right here without having to go find Peter and look into his profile. And the inverse is true on the signed in. So for Thor, now we're going to show that he's actually assigned to the older toddler room. Now this setting is optional. And the reason it's optional is because we learned that a lot of teachers like, yeah, that's great information, but it's just, I don't necessarily need it. But for some teachers, especially who are responsible for room transfers and navigating kids out of the holding room at the beginning of the day and putting them to their correct room, that was valuable information for them. So we just made it optional so you can customize the app to get the information that is most pertinent for you. With that, I'm going to kick it back over to Steve, and he's going to talk about the items that are currently in progress.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, so for CMS side, we've got a few things that are currently in progress, and I'll tell you about some other stuff that's coming up really, really soon. But I'm super excited about these two items that you're going to see very, very soon. The first one is advanced registration enhancements, and we're adding in features to allow not just registration for leads, but registration or re-registration for existing students or active families. So in the old world, you put in your registration form, it would then be submitted by the parents, and then that would create a lead. And then once it becomes a lead, you create a student, but you can only do that once. Well, this process will allow you to create re-registration forms where the information flows directly into the student profile, and into the parent profile, and into the all the details of the family there. We're also adding the ability to have multiple registration forms. So you can create forms for different things. You may say, hey, listen, I've got a lead form, and these are the questions I want to ask of the lead form, and those hopefully will flow in through leads. And then this is what my my active student form is going to have its different questions, and that's going to flow into students. Or I may have a different form for tours and visits, and let's say they not necessarily be a lead, but maybe someone checking up the business. So there's going to give you a whole bunch of different options to create registration forms, and it will give you the ability to manage them, name them, set open and close dates for them. So a lot of great stuff there as well. With all of these things, we're improving the overall flow and management of the form. So we're going to give you some new tools to be able to better manage your registrants, manage your leads, and manage your students. So really excited about that one, and we're currently in the process of developing that. The next one is staff schedule, and again, this is something I know that a lot of schools are very excited for. You'll have the ability to create shifts, so you can create a shift for a specific week or a set of shifts for weeks, and then you'll be able to manage those shifts on a week-by-week basis. So the biggest thing we heard on this one was that typically you have 1 week and it's going to be the same week after week after week. Well, we're going to give you the ability to copy that week to multiple weeks. And then you can manage those individual weeks. So if you have a special event, you have vacation, you have a week off, you can manage those shifts accordingly each individual week as well. On top of that, you'll also be able to assign staff members that are in your system to the individual shifts. And you're going to be able to also label the individual shifts, color code the individual shifts. And finally, how are you going to communicate this? Well, we give you the ability to print shifts on a week-by-week basis, or you can generate PDF versions of those and send those out to the staff members or those individuals who are scheduled for the week. So these are 2 items we've got on deck. I'm really excited for it. I hope you guys will be too. The next one we have is programs and insights. And if you're a part of the TBCC conference, you're probably familiar with what we're doing with programs and insights, but to give you a quick rundown. It's technically 2 major features that we're releasing: programs, which allows you to manage your individual schedules, manage offerings, and so then you can give individual schedules, day parts, and day times to students. The next one is insights, which once you've created your programs and you've assigned students to the programs and you've assigned the programs to the rooms, you'll then be able to see where your staff and student openings exist. So you may have openings in a specific room. You might be able to add another program to that or more students into that. You may have, based on your teacher to student ratios, you may have a need for more staff in a specific room. So it'll give you the ability to see that and visualize your needs and be able to maximize the spaces that you have and maximize the offerings that you have in your schools. And then at the end of the day, programs are going to give you some additional management capabilities to manage your offerings. So before you'd have your rooms, now programs are going to fit within rooms. So you can actually divide rooms and divide spaces up into individual programs. So it's going to give you a lot more flexibility and a lot more information moving forward. And that's it for the CMS side. Brandon?
Thank you. And I'm going to try to hurry up so we can make sure we have plenty of time for your guys' questions at the end. But some items that we're currently working on is, the activity dashboard with reminders. We try to definitely build time for iteration. I do want to add a note that the dashboard optimization efforts are progressing very nicely and they're being turned on slowly for some of you. So some of you may already be using the dashboard that's been re-enabled. Others of you will soon start getting notifications that it's ready to roll. So we've got some really good optimization going. As far as the iteration, we found a problem with the dashboard wasn't solving. It was doing a great job of letting teachers know when the last activity was done and how to quickly log it. But what it wasn't helping them do is to stay up to date with upcoming and due activities. So we've added a new iteration to the dashboard that's going to show teachers when they have upcoming activities. So these little what we call reminder pills at the bottom of each child. And we're also going to let them know when they have activities that are due, which is going to show a status change on the activity tile. This also allows admins to be able to set reminders by default. So it's great to have these reminders in one heads up view for teachers to see what's coming up, what's due, being able to triage their activities. But it's not going to provide much value if they forget to set the reminder. And so here at Center admins will be able to set the reminder by default and also set the time interval for that reminder. So helping those teachers not forget to set reminders and know when they should be doing certain activities like changing diapers every 2 hours. So that one should be coming in the near future. We also have a room transfer enhancements. Now, my colleague Matt Casey has been leading this one, but what this is going to solve is going to provide clearer parent notifications when a child has been transferred across rooms. Before, they were getting sign in, sign out notifications, which is very confusing and concerning for a parent. Now it's hard to see, but up here, they're going to get new notifications that are going to let them know that the child was transferred, so making it more clear. We also have split the settings. So in the school settings, we had a, notify parents with staff take attendance. The problem with that is it kind of bucketed a room transfer with the building sign in, sign out transfer. Now we've split them so your center can determine what notifications you want parents to be aware of, whether it be sign in, sign out of the building only and not room transfer or any combination of those two. We've also have some nap check enhancements coming. We realized that when you start a nap, that the reminder would only go off one time. But we found that really what the whole reminder that's needed when you start a nap needs to be repeating, because that's specific to the nap check. And there's licensing regulations that child is checked on every 10 to 15 minutes in most cases. So now when they go to log a nap and they'll start activity, you'll see that it's repeating nap check every 15 minutes. And so the teacher will be able to adjust that time interval, as well as say, you know what, I only want to check them once in 30 minutes. Maybe they're a young toddler and they don't need that, sits check every 15 minutes like the infant would. We've also, once that nap check is set on the dashboard, an additional iteration is we're going to have this nap check reminder posted here and a quick log functionality. So we reduced the clicks by 3/4 for the teachers to now log that nap check per child. Also, we've added sleeping position on the nap check. We found out in our research that was one commonality across all states, that had to be recorded. So now it's going to be quickly recorded and less typing. So that way you can only type the additional information that you may need for the nap check. The last thing we've done is, again, in the dashboard settings, admins will be able to set the default settings for starting a nap or ending a nap reminder. So we have two different reminders on the nap. When you start a nap specific to a nap check that may or may not be repeating, when you end a nap, it's going to be a reminder for the next nap. So you guys will be able to decide, maybe I don't need an end nap reminder, kids set their own schedule, but I do need, or the next nap reminder, but I do need to set the nap check reminder for my teachers. So again, more flexibility on being able to do those nap checks, as well as run the reports to include all of that information, including staff present and the sleeping position. Another one, and this is the one that's really early in the process. So just calling out, these pictures you're seeing are concept prototypes. They're not guaranteed what we're going to do, but we are working on a way to digitally collect and attach signatures on incident reports, ways for admins to have their signature, the way to send and request signatures from staff member, as well as to send and request signatures from parents. There's also going to make sure we solve the problem that you're going to be aware of the status of those signatures. So early in the phase, some of you have probably been in our user testing group, and thank you for your feedback, but no doubt we're going to see some iteration on this before we actually bring it in. So with that, I'll kick it over to Steve for our final run through what's on deck and coming soon.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. Yeah, so we've got quite a few items coming soon. And as Brandon had mentioned on the roadmap, there are, it's not always guaranteed that it's going to be before the end of the year, but we are working hard on 3 of these features that are coming out. The first one is immunization enhancements. So the big change here, or the biggest change you're going to notice, is that it'll be self-management directly within the school setting. So directly within the school settings, you'll be able to set up your immunization templates. You'll be able to set up your different inoculations that you can give to each of the students, and the cadence at which it's administered. So that will be 100% at your fingertips. No need to call support or implementation to get that set up for yourselves. We're actually also adding some additional immunization scheduling options. So instead of just being at specific month intervals, it could be each time every year you're getting the same type of dose, or it could be based on the prior dose. We are improving the interface, and I kind of give you a glimpse here of what our design looks like. It's a prototype design right now, but just giving you a glimpse of what the design looks like. We're going to have, completed, due, missing, scheduled options as well. So you can actually say, hey, you know what, this child has an immunization scheduled for the specific date. And we're also adding parent and staff notifications, and it can be as high as setting it in the initial settings. So school settings, you can say anytime, the hepatitis A vaccination is required or is going to be coming up, make sure to send to individual parents and staff members. Or you can say that for the specific child, I want to send a reminder of all the vaccinations that are due. Or you can say for the specific vaccination for the specific child, I want to send a reminder of when this specific vaccination is due. So really a lot more robust reminder features. The next one is a next-gen reporting, and we're working through research on that right now. The idea is that we want to be able to provide you more flexibility and more information at your fingertips. So the ability to generate your own types of reports, edit reports, add and remove columns. So these are the items that we're looking at implementing with next-gen reporting, and we're doing some of the research in that, and just it's at a very early stage. The next one is surcharging fees for Tuition Express customers. So we're implementing a feature that will allow the system to recognize if the card is able to receive a surcharge and identify which type of card it is at the card level. So prior to this, right now, parents would enter in the type of card, and if there's ever a mismatch, the parent puts in the wrong card type, it may flag it as something that can't be surcharged or has a lower surcharge. The system will now provide insight into that, so it'll resolve any issues that may come from user error and provide more flexibility when it comes to surcharging. So these are items that are coming soon. I'm super excited about them, and I know Brandon has some more stuff coming up as well.
Yes, thank you, Steve. So just at a really high level, these items that are on deck are coming soon. Again, we identified that there are some core problems within this area, such as assessments, lesson planning, messaging. I've seen some comments already about messaging and read receipts. Yes, that is something we've identified we need to do, as well as multimedia attachments, direct messaging, and the messaging enhancements. The thing I just want to point out here is that these are some items that we know are very big problem areas. We don't know exactly the solution that we're going to do, but we are going to address them. And we don't know that we're going to be able to address them all in one go. So they may have to be broken out. And that's kind of that disclaimer I put on the roadmap. But that's where our customer research with you is so important. That's where we get to talk with you about your problems, your pain points, and you get to prioritize it for us. So just want to quickly call out, we're going to make some improvements on portfolio revamping for parent guardian audience, and improving parent visibility and observations, as well as filtering and organization. And other items here in the lesson plan, I'm not going to get too detailed. I've taken up too much time, and I need to pass this over to the next group so we can get to your questions. But these are some of the things that we have coming up with the family engagement classroom pod. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our awesome Lexi, and she's going to talk about tips and tools and end of year prep.
Good morning. How are you? I'm so excited to have you all here. We are going to talk today a little bit about preparing your school for the end of the fiscal year and prepping for the next school year. I'm going to use this time to highlight reports that your parents will need for tax season, as well as a general overview of billing and documents. Can you go to the next slide, Brendan? All right, we're going to start on tax statements here first. With a couple of short months left before the end of 2022, one of the items that is likely to come up at your center, is tax documents. You can share these documents one of a couple of ways. Either send an email with an attached tax statement directly to your parents from Procare, or parents can access their statements from Procare Online or the app. The statement option will provide a PDF version of the parent's ledger. This can be pulled for various increments of time, up to 12 months at a time. The tax statement will include totals for tuition and other charges for the year. And that is actually the screenshot that I'm showing you on the right. That's a tax statement that your parents would receive in their email. Tax statements will include the following information: name and address of your school, a time period for all the transactions completed on the statement, the parents and children's names, and your school's tax ID number if one is provided. The tax ID number designates your business as childcare. So I do find this to be an essential thing for you to put on that statement so that your parents can use it for an FSA or to claim a child care tax credit, This can be supplied in your school settings in your school's profile. To access a statement or tax statement for each student, you're going to want to find this under billing, accounting, and then you're going to select a student and pick the statement option you wish to export or email in the top right corner. Next slide. It may be easier for you to instruct your parents on accessing their tax statements directly. And we actually suggest you do this by sending out a newsletter with instructions to all of your parents, guiding them on pulling their tax statements. Procare's online help site does include a parent-friendly article with step-by-step instructions that can be attached to your email. To pull a statement online or in the app, parents must first log into the account. They will then navigate to the payment section on the left and select statement or tax statement. The tax statement will be delivered to the parent's email on file. This can also be achieved with the app by going to the menu in the top left, that hamburger menu we were talking about before. You select view transactions, and the option for statement or tax statement will be available on the top right. Next slide. I'm going to go a little over billing now. So in many cases, you or your school's accountant will need the information included in several of these reports to close out the year. I'm going to go over the difference between several of these reports. Please also note that if you are using Tuition Express to process payments, there will be some additional reports that you will have access to. The Family Balance Report allows you to view total invoices, payments, and outstanding balances up to the date selected. There are several transaction reports that provide various information. The standard transaction report can be filtered for payments or invoices. When exported for payments, you are able to view payment descriptions, the status of the payment, amounts, current family balances for a specified time period. This report can also be customized by payment type, meaning you can export only for credit, cards, ACH, cash, or check, or all. The transaction report for invoices allows you to view invoice amounts, due date, payment status, and current family balances for a specified time period. The detailed transaction breakdown gives you a detailed summary of transactions for range up to 3 months at a time. The ledger detailed transactions provides a list of all transactions for each ledger. This can be customized to include some or all of the ledgers and subsidies created by your school. We do also have a partnership with Gusto. This integration will allow your center to actually integrate and use payroll and HR platform and assist with your business operations at your center. Gusto can assist in managing employees, benefits, payroll, including handling various pay rates, pay schedules, and pay types. This platform can also be used to pay federal, state, and local payroll taxes and supply W-2s and 1099s for your center. When used through Procare, this integration will automatically synchronize your staff information, including staff time card data into Gusto. Next slide. All right, we are going to go over documents a little bit here. The document feature can be used to upload and send PDFs electronically to parents, staff, and leads. You can collect parent signatures on important documents, including verifying enrollment for the upcoming school year. This can be used for new staff members to complete and return onboarding paperwork or for tasks like acknowledging an employee handbook. For parents of current students, you can send instant reports for a parent signature, verify enrollment contracts electronically, or for tasks like having your parent sign a field trip permission form. To start, and I'm actually going to have you go to the next slide. I wanted you to have a bigger view of what this looks like. To start, you're going to either upload or select a document from templates. You will then be given the option to make adjustments to your document. You can make additions like adding a signature field if your document does not already include one. To do this, you can go to annotate and select the free text symbol to add text to the document. You can also insert shapes like a line or a circle. If you feel it might be helpful to add further instructions for parents, use the Annotate tab to leave a note on the document. This will not be visible after the document has been accepted. It will only be visible to your parents so they can see what they should be doing. And it's helpful to make call outs in your document. When you're finished editing the document, select Continue. The next screen will give you options for configuring the document. This includes choosing your recipient list and options for selecting an expiration date for the document, as well as a date to send a reminder email to your parents if they have not completed the request. Note that the setting and expiration will hide the documents from the parent's view on the selected date. You will still be able to access these documents. Once the document has been sent, it can be found under the next status, which is request sent. Recipients will receive an email notification with a link to Procare to complete. When the parent clicks Get Started, when the parent clicks the Get Started link in the email, they will be sent to Procare. They can either complete the document within the app or in Procare Online. They will be asked to log in, and then they will be shown a document in the list. To sign this document, they will go to Insert, add their own signature, and place their signature on the document. It does look very similar to the options you have when you are creating a document yourself. Once completed, the document will sit in awaiting approval status for an approval or rejection from your admin. Completed documents can also be previewed or downloaded from the screen and will be available under the student's profile on the Documents tab. All right, that is all for me. I think we're ready to take some questions here from all of our panelists. I'm going to hand this back to our moderator, Kelly, for our live Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lexi. All right. So now we're going to open up to your questions. Thank you for sending those in. We have a lot of them coming in, so keep that coming. Remember to use the Q&A feature rather than chat feature. so that we can see all of them. We do have a lot of questions and we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can, but we're running a little low on time. So we will breeze through these. If it's center specific, please reach out to support directly for those, because those are ones we won't be able to handle live here. Okay, so some of the questions we've got in, one of those was, when sending an activity, can you select more than one room at the same time? You actually can do that. When you're selecting or when you're creating an activity, you can filter by room. You can select all of the students in that room, and then you can choose a different room from the drop-down menu and select all of the students in that one as well. And it will hold on to the previous room that you selected. So that will work that way if you want to select more than one room, but not all of the rooms or all of your students. So there's that one. And then our next question was, can all staff be listed so families can contact different staff members, not only their own teaching team? That needs to be done by room assignment. When your parents message in, they are messaging all of the staff who are assigned to their child's classroom, as well as all the administrators. So just make sure you have the room assignments updated accordingly for who you want to receive the messages. One other question we have is, what is the best way to send a picture through Procare? This would be with our activity feature. Using the photo activity, you can do that, but you can also attach a photo to any activity in the app. There's also a way, of course, to send pictures through the newsletter too. That will go to parent emails instead of directly into the app. So it just depends on how you want parents to see it. And then we did get a question about notifications when parents send a message. It sounds like some folks aren't getting those notifications. One thing you want to be sure of is, if you are an administrator for your center, you need to be assigned to the classrooms in order to get notifications. You already get to see all of the messages, but if you want to get a notification about those, then you need to be assigned to the room in order for that to happen. So make sure that you are assigned to the classrooms that you want to receive notifications for. And then there will also be, of course, a red dot over messages that are unread. So you can also tell if there is something that you need to view in the website that way. Is there a way for teachers to view their time cards? There is. You can update staff permissions, but just make sure you're aware that when you update those to read, they can view all time cards, not just their own. So it depends on if you want them to be able to view everybody's, or if you just want to be able to print a report and send it to them individually at the end of the pay period. Can we sign parents into Procare? Like student attendance when they visit the building. So this one requires a little bit of a workaround. I have seen some centers where they have parent volunteers who come in and they want to track those hours. So the best way to do that would actually be to set those parents up as staff members, and then they would get their own PIN code or their own kiosk PIN to sign in. And you would just know, I mean, you could even put next to their name something like parent, so that you knew that that was a parent signing in through the staff time cards. That's a really good feature request too. So it might be a good moment too for me to plug our get feedback option that's always in the top right corner of your Procare online website. Because as you can see, our team does take a look at those and take those into account. And then someone asked, can non-active families still pay their bill? They can pay their bill just like any active family through the app or through the website. So active or not, they'll be able to do that. Awesome. And then is there ever going to be an option to edit lead information? Yes, this is actually a way that you want to set up your registration form. When you add a field to the registration form in your leads in that configure section, there is a step 2 to that says assign field to lead data. And that if you fill that out, if you create that custom field in step 2, then you're going to be able to edit and manipulate the data later. So you do need to make sure to do that step if you want to be able to edit that information at a later date. If a parent has a Procare account with another school, can we switch between 2 different schools? Yes, parents can switch between schools. If their email is the same at both schools, they'll be able to do that from the menu section and the app, that hamburger icon in the top left corner. They click on that and they'll have the option to switch schools to see their child or children at another school. They just need to make sure to have the same email address at both if they want to be able to switch that way. And then How to reactivate a child's file. That's something you can do from the child's profile. You can change their enrollment status. You can do that by clicking into the child's account, and at the very top where it says active or a different status, you can click on the pencil icon to change that enrollment status. You can also do that in batch from the My School Students page. If you click on multiple students at a time, you'll be able to batch change their enrollment status. If the child is already inactive, you would want to go click on your filter icon to look at your inactive students, and then you can change their enrollment status from their profile in that section. And then when entering a nap, when entering the time that a nap starts, it automatically puts a wake up time 1 hour later. How can we put in our own time for waking? So when you do log that, that nap activity, there is a time in the end time, but unless you actually go and click on that end time and choose one, it will not log at that end time. That's just the default that's in there, but it doesn't actually set that as the wake up time unless you click on it. So when you actually create the event, it will not include a wake up time unless you actually add it, because we assume that maybe the child is starting their nap right now and you don't know when they're going to wake up. So that's in there by default, but does not actually log that way. Good question. Then I have a staff member that has a child at the center, and they switch to the parent option, and they don't see the option on the menu to switch between their staff and parent account. So this is very similar to parents being able to switch between multiple centers. They just need to make sure that their email is the same for both their staff account and their parent account in order to be able to switch between the two. That's how Procare will recognize that. Okay, and then teachers are adding activities, pictures, and lessons, but parents are not getting notifications. So parents actually can control their own notifications in the app when they click on the menu icon and in their profile. They have an extensive list of notifications that they can choose to turn on or off. They'll also want to make sure that they've chosen in their app settings for Procare to be able to send them notifications. So they'll want to double check that first, because they should be getting notifications about activities and pictures and perhaps lessons if that's chosen as well. Someone else asked that I want to use my own forms to send to parents, such as an accident report. So this is something you would definitely want to do in the documents feature, as Lexi just showed. That's something that you could have parents fill out or even just provide a signature for through the documents feature. And then when using the app on your phone to call the parents, what does the parent see as caller ID? That is when that is just the app is just providing the phone number. It's actually calling from your own device. So whatever device you're using, it'll be the ID for that particular device that's calling, if it has the ability to make a phone call. If a child is visiting a room that is not their assigned room, will they show up on the list for the teacher to do a name to face? Yes, they will. You just need to make sure, kind of like Brandon showed earlier, to select the filter icon from the main home screen so that it is blue and showing signed in students. And then it'll show that those students are in that room and they'll show up for the name to face activity that you're doing. And let's see, can we create our own custom reports or modify existing reports? So most reports are generated as an Excel spreadsheet that you can then modify freely. There's also a customizable report that is in our report section under the management section. It's the first one, called Students and Family. And then there's a drop-down menu there that says Custom All Fields. And so then you can choose that one to custom and choose any of the fields, including any custom fields that you created for yourself. So that's a really customizable report that is really helpful for centers when you're trying to create something brand new that doesn't currently exist as one of our reports. Let's see, and then will we be able to know where our float staff is when they are in a room? So when your staff clock in and out, they have the ability to choose what room they're signing into, though it will default to their primary room. If they transfer rooms using that same process, either the QR code or the pin pad, then they can choose a different room to transfer into rather than signing out. And then you'll be able to see where your staff are in either the dashboard of your website or in a live sign-in feed of the app, wherever you're checking. So yes, let's see what else we have here. Lesson plans are only available for teachers to see and not parents. Yes, I wanted to address this one because there is actually a checkbox in the lesson plans. Each individual lesson plan, if you open it up, there's a checkbox that allows you to decide if the lesson plan shows in the daily summary when a child is checked out of attendance. So when you check mark that box, you get to decide whether or not it will appear in the daily summary. And then daily summaries are sent out when a child is checked out of attendance, as long as they were signed in and out that day and they have at least one activity logged for the day. So you can actually share the lessons with parents that way. There's also an additional way to share the lesson with parents in the app. Teachers can choose to do that directly. When they go to the activity section of the app, there is a white banner in the bottom that allows them to see the lessons for that day, and then even choose a blue button that says share with parents. And then they can add pictures and more information and share it directly at the time that the lesson happened or shortly after. And then with the transfer enhancement that Brandon and Stephen were talking about earlier, will there be a reporting functionality added to print out students that are due for transfer based on age groups? This is not happening in the first release, but this is something we're working on. Let's see. More here. I know we're reaching the end of our time. Sorry, I'm going as fast as I can. And then can you review the process of how to approve messages as an admin? Yes, so the message approvals actually is in your messaging section of your website. So when you go to parent connection messages, in at the top of the screen, it will have a blue number that always signifies in Procare that you can click on it. It'll have a blue number signifying how many messages are there for approval. And when you go to click into it, you'll see the message there and you can choose to approve it or not and reject it. And then you may want to answer the parent's question or reply to the parent yourself in that case, since you can't edit a staff member's response. And then is there a way we can do admin messaging, someone asked? So that would be something you would probably want to do through the staff messaging feature. And so in your Procare Online website under staff management, you have a staff messaging section. And by default, non-admin staff do not have access to staff messaging, though you can change that in their permissions. So when you do send a message, however, you can choose particular staff to send a message to, but just make sure that the staff you're sending the message to have access to either read or have full access to staff messaging so they actually receive it. And if you're only going to send it to an administrator, they will have access to staff messaging by default unless you changed that in their permissions. And then can assessments be completed multiple times? We need to complete them at least 3 times. So not yet, but this is definitely something that our team is working to resolve and add as a feature. So being able to record and show student progress over time is something that's in the works. And then okay, so I know we ran out of time here. I'm sorry about that. We didn't get to every question, but please reach out to support directly using the chat bubble in the bottom right corner of your Procare Online website or give them a call. Actually, I think if we go to our next slide, we have our phone number listed on that. Thank you. So you can also give our support team a call at 1-800-964-1729. But use that chat bubble too. You can take your question from here and ask it in chat as well, and we'd be happy to help. All right, I'll hand it back over to Lisa to wrap us up.
Kelly, thank you so much. I just want to thank all of our customers. We have had a lot of questions. We really appreciate the engagement and the interaction. And as Kelly mentioned, we will get back to you on questions If they are very specific to your center, please use the information you see here on the screen to get those answered. Again, thanks so much for joining. We appreciate your time. Have a good day.